The Aladdin Prince of the Airways hanging out with you. Hold up. Hey, this is the Behind the Mic series, and this is where I tap in with all the hottest of your favorites. And it is always great when we get to go behind the mic of one of our own representing the DMV. Ladies and gentlemen, none other than filmmaker, director, writer, the one and only RaMell Ross here with me. Hey, RaMell, what up?
How you doing? How you doing, everyone? Nice to be here.
Oh, come on, man. It's a pleasure to have you. So you are from Fairfax?
Yeah. Well, I kind of grew up in Kettering, Largo area as well,
Okay.
Maryland, but then like ended up in Fairfax and I went to high school out there.
Nice, nice, nice. And then you ball for the good old Georgetown.
You know, always a dream, and it's still a dream.
That's so crazy. That is so
Yeah,
crazy. So how we go from basketball to filmmaking?
man. I don't. I'll tell you one thing. If it wasn't for that like kind of hardcore discipline and that like kind of postponing the pain and suffering of the moment, kind of in practice for like a bigger vision, I don't know if it would if I would have been able to be as successful in photography and film because man, basketball gives you a
Mhm.
great groundwork for self critique and for
Uh-huh.
teamwork and for all of that stuff.
Yeah. Who'd you play under?
I played under Craig Estrick for 4 years and then
Okay.
JT three for one. I stayed five.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
Point guard?
yeah. I was a point guard, you know what I'm saying? Like, I
Okay.
wouldn't skip to my Lou or anybody, but I can handle a rock.
No, that's amazing, man. Coming under the legacies of AIs and all of that. But
Yeah,
we're not
yeah.
here to talk basketball. We're here to talk about this amazing film, The Nickel Boys. Is it based off the book?
Yeah. It's based off that Colson Whitehead novel. Yeah.
Okay, nice, nice. What about the book inspired you to make this film?
Yeah, I think its openness to the poetry of kind of existence of black life, quote unquote, in that time period. There's something if you look at photo history and you look at film history, we're
Mhm,
missing poetic images of people of color,
mhm.
pre 80s and pre 70s because most things are civil rights oriented and or it's like white people making photos of us. And so
Yeah.
his book was an opportunity to populate that missing archive.
Wow. And then what made you look at this book and say, I'm gonna dive in and make a film?
Yeah, man, it's just like cinema's a beautiful thing. It
Yeah.
like it carries consciousness. It's transportive in a way in which only music can really get to. And
Mm,
so how do you it's kind of an offering, like his book and the opportunity to imagine with it inside such a powerful narrative. It's allowed me to do what I love, which is make images
uh,
and make sounds and offer that to the public.
wow, that's really dope. And so can you just kind of explain too, like what's the difference between like a director and then like an executive producer? Because I see you have
Yeah.
Brad Pitt as one of the executive producers.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Um,
dope.
man, I chatted with him the other day too, man. He's cool. He's a cool guy. Well, like an executive producer, sometimes they come in a little later, sometimes they come in early, but a lot of that is about, finding money, about finding platforms and people to connect. And, maybe you need to get in contact with an actor, but like going through the agent's difficult, and you can call the executive producer who has like this big macro view of the industry and they can get to them. Some executive producers play more creative role.
Mhm.
Some are just there for their name. It like, kind of varies, but a director is basically in charge of every decision.
Mm.
Maybe aside from distribution, because that's more on the producer side. You're ultimately directing the director of photography. You're directing the set designer. You're directing the sound. Like you are
Okay.
supposed to understand and be competent in every field, and then find artists that you can work with who can execute your vision.
Wow. And then you also are helping on the post-production side as well, correct?
Ooh, oh yeah, like I mean, not all directors are involved in the edit, but I mean, I could never make a film if I'm not there every day in conversation with the editor. Yeah, it varies per director. Like some films don't even really need to be micro edited because the narrative's so clear and but
Yeah.
this film here, let me tell you, it requires a very
Woo.
specific touch.
how many hours can we say that you put into this beautiful piece of work?
Man, I'd say it. How many days does a fly live? 7 days. I'd say maybe a million flies now. Like,
Wow.
in dog years, man, I don't even know. Like, to think that makes my brain hurt to try to calculate that,
Yeah,
especially because it's about imagining too, right? Like, you're
correct.
working, though not in a way in which other people recognize, but like when you're sitting out on that cliff edge and staring up at the clouds, like trying to like be in touch with the ideas, like
Yeah.
that's work.
Let's talk about some of the cinematography of this
Mm.
film. The shots from the point of view. Like, what made you, or what gave you the idea of doing that with this film?
Yeah, like I think I'm pretty fortunate to not gone to film school because they teach
Mm,
you how to do uh cinema in a very specific way, which I think is like tied into Western ideology, into like the certain values that the US has. But there's like more ways to use the camera. And it's not like people haven't done point of view before. We know they have. But I think from my perspective, coming off photography and thinking about the way in which the camera has always depicted people of color as the other and like kind of objectified us,
mm,
it's like
mhm.
how do I make the camera an organ, and like how do I shoot from my perspective? Uh, you come to these conclusions.
Yeah. In the casting, like what made you pick certain people?
We got Anjanou Ellis Taylor. How could you not? You know what I'm
Come
saying?
on.
Like she is the real deal. Well, she was our first pick. When you're making a film on this scale, we had four producers who are suggesting actors for roles. You can get Hamish Linklater in there. Daveed Diggs came off of a suggestion. The two young leads, Brandon Wilson and Ethan Harisi, we found them through the casting process. We had a casting director, Vicky Thomas. She gives you hundreds of casting tapes, and you
Wow.
have to like watch them. And
All
some
of them.
people stick out, some people don't.
Wow, that's amazing. And being from this area and seeing just kind of how the DMV is really starting to blossom and do amazing things in the film world. Just for the up and coming directors and things like that. What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, you know, because I didn't go to film school, and I'm like kind of proudly a self-taught photographer. I
Hmm.
think I'm interested in people who have like really distinct point of views
Hmm.
and who are really visually literate, right? Like have a personal poetic, I like to say. So
Hmm.
I would suggest to the upcoming directors to like find your personal poetic. Like find you as uniquely as you dress, as uniquely as you sound, as unique as your fingerprint. Find that in terms of film and how you express yourself. That I want to see.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, this movie is definitely a conversational piece.
Hmm.
What do you think has been the most intriguing conversation that you've heard on this film so far?
Man, I'll tell you, this film, I like to say, like elicits a subjective response. Like everyone has a different relationship to it because there's so
Mhm.
many images and it's so specific. I think some of the most interesting conversations have revolved around uh, personal trauma and
Ooh,
the way in which the film sort of like gets inside of you, because in this film you are the characters, you are the camera. They're talking directly to you often. um it like you're burrowed in the film and the film burrows in you, and that people respond to that differently. Some people are terrified, right? Some people felt
yeah,
trapped in the film. Some people felt liberated in the film, right? Like
huh,
those are two big extremes.
right. Wow. Okay. Now, with that being said, it's a lot going on right now in the world. What would you want people to take away from this film?
Mm. Yeah, I think about film like I do music in which I want people to have an experience of it. I
Hmm.
think that if you can give someone an experience of something, then you can change their life. I think if you tell someone something or you show someone something, um, it's less likely to have an impact on them because what they have at stake is conceptual. It's
Yeah.
not physical, it's not visceral, it's not the part of the body. Like, we know the world through our experience. So
Mm,
I really hope that people's takeaway is feeling and emotion and impressions and a sense of understanding. And however that sense is articulated to them, whether or not they can articulate it or not, is a different story. But like, to give someone that, I mean, I think that's just the dream.
that's so dope. All right. Well, I'm all about putting things in the atmosphere, speaking things into existence. So have you already prepared the Oscar speech?
I have not. I have not. But now that you're putting that out there, maybe I'll spend some time today just like putting something on paper.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're gonna speak that into existence for you. RaMell, man, this is a beautiful piece of work. Thank you so much, man. Continue to wave that flag, and everybody, please go out, support, go see this movie. We'll put the list of locations where you can see it, but just make sure you go support our own. And it is called Nickel Boys, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you go out and support it. RaMell, thank you so much, man. It's been an honor and a privilege.
Nah, same. Been an honor and a pleasure on my part. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.